Hello, everyone, and I want to welcome you. I am Dr. Paulina Van, the host of this show, The Poetry of Healing. And I'm so happy that you stopped by today, and I hope that you will be too. Today's show is about racism in nursing, the experiences of African American Black nurses. Why is it important to you? You might be thinking. And that is how nurses are treated while in nursing school or in their workplace has a direct impact on the care you receive and ultimately on the health of our communities. Another important reason is that every one of us knows a nurse. So, a family member, neighbor, friend, of course, your healthcare provider, sorority sister, or frat brother. And racism affects the nurse's entire well being: physical, psychological, financial, social. My guest today is a powerhouse in nursing. We're going to discuss a recent public apology given to African American nurses, why this apology is just the beginning of the journey, and how we can help our nurses. We'll also integrate poetry to help tell the story, and then we'll practice meditation to soothe the discomforts of racism and promote healing among us all. So, as we normally do, we're going to begin with a centering exercise, and I'm going to invite you to participate to help us focus and collect our energies for this time together. It's really a time for you and a gift to yourself. So today, I'm going to invite you to participate in reciting a few self compassion affirmations. They're positive statements, and their purpose is to self soothe and perhaps make you smile and bring a bit of joy to your heart and let you know how amazing you are all by yourself. Talking about and having recollections of racist experiences, yours or others, can have an effect on your well being. And so now I'm going to ask you to softly close your eyes or lower your gaze, whatever feels comfortable. And we're going to take slow, deep breaths to help us relax. And those of you who've been with me are familiar with the heart focused breathing. And those of you who are new to my show, it's easy. I'll just guide you along. Okay. So, with your eyes closed or your gaze lowered, I'm going to ask you to take a deep breath in through your nose slowly and then out through your mouth slowly. Okay. Next breath in through your nose. And while you're breathing in, imagine your heart getting bigger. So your heart's taking that breath. And then out through your mouth, and your heart is getting smaller. So just imagine, I'm asking you to do some imagery with your heart. Imagine you taking that deep breath in and your heart expanding. And then out, it's getting smaller. And one more breath in, and your heart's expanding, and then out. It's getting smaller. And now I'm going to ask you to recite some affirmations, and I'm going to say it. And then I ask that you respond by either saying it mentally or speaking it out loud if you're at a place where you can do that. You'll feel the vibrations of the words. I have 6 affirmations, and so I invite you now. The first one is, I love myself just as I am today. I love myself just as I am today. I choose to be kind to myself. I choose to be kind to myself. I am my own best friend. I am my own best friend. I am grateful to be the person I am. I am grateful to be the person. It is natural for me to love myself. It is natural for me to love myself. The last one is I am calm and relaxed in all situations. I am calm and relaxed in all situations. So now take a nice deep breath in and out. And now I'm going to ask you to take 3 deep breaths. Take a deep breath in and out to notice you are here. Take the second deep breath in and out to notice how your body feels. And the last deep breath, the third one, you're going to take a deep breath and enter this session. Great job. For those of you viewers who have just joined us, I am Dr. Paulina Van, the author of Regala Healing, an evocative approach for self-care, self-understanding, and inner healing. And I host this show, The Poetry of Healing. And we've just completed a centering exercise to kind of relax us and focus us. Today's show is all about how nurses can heal from the damage caused by racism. You are just in time to meet our guest, and I'd like to welcome to the show my dear colleague, mentor, and friend, Dr. Rhonda Foster-Smith. Welcome, Dr. Foster-Smith. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
Well, I am wonderful, and I am just thrilled that you agreed to join us. We have a very important topic that we will be discussing, and um, I would not want to discuss it with anybody but you. You are dynamic, you have a way with words. It was your article, recent article, January, I think it was, or December 2022
Mhm.
that I read that really prompted me to want to have this discussion with you. So thank you. So before we jump into our topic of racism in nursing, please share with our viewers anything personally or professionally that you think would be helpful to get to know you as we discuss racism in nursing.
Well, thank you for taking the topic on. It's still pretty controversial to talk about racism and the treatment, but thank you for taking this on. And I wouldn't want to talk about it with anybody else other than you two. So, my background is one of nursing. I um, made a decision when I was a high school senior to go into nursing school, and I prepared um, to go into something related to healthcare because I wanted to work in a hospital. I wanted to be able to help people, and I wanted to have options in my career. And nursing fit that bill. And my high school counselor encouraged it and really convinced me that it was the career for me. And I've been in nursing forever, and I really believe it's a calling, and you either love it and everything about it, or it can turn into a job really, really quickly. So it's a calling that happens to be the career that I'm in. I went to a 2-year college when I first graduated from high school. My high school counselor, although encouraged me to go back and get a bachelor's degree, the program that I would have gone to in the community that I lived in was not accepting um, people of color in their nursing program. And so I enrolled in a 2-year program and graduated with a degree in nursing. I've continued my education following that. I got a bachelor's in nursing degree from that same school, and was honored as one of their distinguished alum several years ago It's kind of ironic to be honored as a distinguished alum from a program that didn't accept you when you wanted to go there first. But I've gotten a master's degree from Georgetown University in nursing administration. I have a doctorate in leadership studies, and I also have a master's in public health. So I'm a lifelong learner, and I've had a wonderful career in nursing. And starting as a staff nurse, working as a manager, going up the professional ladder, director, associate vice president, chief nursing officer. And I recently returned to school like I have nothing else to do to get a certificate in evidence-based coaching. So I'm, again, happy to be here. And although I've enjoyed an incredible amount of things over the course of my career, it's not because it has not been riddled with racism, microaggressions, um, and really poor, bad treatment.
Mhm, mhm. And so listening to your background, I didn't realize how much we are we've been parallel in our growth in nursing. One of the things I do want to emphasize for the viewers is that both Dr. Foster Smith and I are nurses. That is our discipline. We also have earned doctorate degrees, and we're a very, very small group.
Mhm.
Uh,
Very.
and so the percentage of doctorally prepared nurses, all doctorally prepared nurses in the United States, it's very small. And when you look at African American nurses or nurses of African descent, the number is even smaller. I think it's less than 1%. I mean, it may be 0.00 something, but it's very, very small. And so Dr. Foster Smith, we see a hyphen there. Is there anything
Oh,
personally that you would like to share with our viewers?
yes, there is a hyphen there. Um, she's referencing my wedding. I've been married a month and a day. Um, and I got married to a wonderful, wonderful man. My wonderful son gave me away to this wonderful man. And so he's extremely supportive. And I'm just glad he was okay with the hyphen.
Uh-huh. Great, thank you. It's so important that our viewers realize that we struggle, but we also have these gems in our lives that we
Yes, we do.
celebrate. And those gems are what help us with the struggle. So we're going to jump into racism in nursing, and just thank you for being so transparent with your journey. And you really truncated it, but that's okay because other things will come up. I want to set the stage with a survey result, a survey that was done by a National Commission to Address Racism in Nursing. It was published about a year ago, and I just want to highlight some facts from the survey. 5,600 nurses were interviewed across the United States. Okay, and there are 4 million of us. So this is just a
Hmm.
snapshot, yet it's pretty accurate. Okay. So the first is that 3 out of 4 nurses have witnessed racism in the workplace. The second is that nurses who have personal experience with racism in the workplace are as follows by race ethnicity. 92% of Black nurses experience racism in the workplace. 28% of white nurses experience racism in the workplace. The next is that 3/4 of Black nurses say racism negatively impacts their professional well being. So it's their practice, it's promotion, and it's also in their pockets, their
Mhm.
money. And then the last result that I'd like to share with you is where Black nurses say they experience racist acts from. So who they experience racist acts from. 70% from their leaders, 68% from patients, and 66% from their peers. Dr. Foster Smith, what do you think about?
I think it's a travesty that you're talking about a survey that was done in 2022, and we're still having these issues today. The issues that were faced um, during times of slavery, and some of the anecdotes and the narratives you read about um, just how difficult it was to practice, to get jobs, to get through school. I mean, I can remember an instructor said to me, I would flunk you, but I know someone else will. And um, so imagine the threat of having that over your head.
Mhm,
And I remember having my next semester of school and asking my instructor, am I doing okay? Am I doing okay? And finally she says, why are you asking me that? And I hadn't had any difficulty with instructors prior to this one.
mhm,
And I told her what happened. And she said, no, you're fine. And but that was a blemish on um, my record.
mhm,
And I graduated. I And when I graduated, there were hospitals that were in the community that were known for not hiring nurses of color, particularly African American nurses.
mhm,
So it's like if you live in a city where there's 7 hospitals, but you can only apply at 2 or possibly get a job in 2 of them, and then maybe you don't for
mhm,
some reason or another. So
mhm,
I think to still here in 2022, and that's again thinking about the things that happen inside the walls of our healthcare organizations. I've
mhm,
heard story after story after story of nurses who've experienced microaggressions, who've had comments made to them, who've been made to feel inferior or even have their credentials questioned,
mhm, mhm,
or even the fact that they have the position question. Are you a minority hire or what? And so nurses that'll say, I can't eat in the break room because they make fun of the food that I bring in. I can't um, I put recipes in the um, unit cookbook and people make fun of them and
mhm,
laugh.
mhm,
Um, there was a situation where 6 African American nurses band together to take care of one child so that there was continuity of care, so that the parents and the child would not be treated badly.
mhm,
It it happens, and it's sad, it's hurtful. It's not just harmful to our nurses,
mhm,
it's harmful to the patients at the end of the day, because you're talking about someone who comes to work every single day knowing it's not going to be easy,
yes.
and not saying the patient assignment's not going to be easy, but the work environment is not going to be easy. And now I'll add a difficult patient who thinks I'm the housekeeper on top of it, or who asked for a different nurse. And so those things are still happening in our communities. They're still happening in our healthcare organizations.
Mhm, mhm,
And what I wonder, even though this survey's been done, you can keep doing surveys until the cows come home. The results are going to be the same unless something is done to systematically dismantle the bias and the racism that's in the walls and the DNA of our healthcare organizations.
Well, Dr. Foster Smith, I really thank you for like uncovering some of these stories that we don't talk about. We
No,
don't, as Black nurses, talk about these because they're uncomfortable, um, and sometimes we feel there's just
you're embarrassed.
yes.
You're embarrassed to be, you're embarrassed, ashamed to be treated that poorly. Or in my case, in my early career, I would question whether or not what just happened.
Mm-hmm.
What did she just say? Or what did he just say? And was that a racist comment? Or no, it wasn't that. And so you begin to stuff it and stuff it. And then when you address it, and you might, and I can remember addressing peers, colleagues, one on one, and saying, I won't let you treat me like that. And you can't talk to me that way. And then you get, well, she got nasty with me. No, I set a boundary for you.
Mm-hmm.
But it still happens, and it's so hurtful. It's so very hurtful. And I just I guess what it comes down to, I need it more than a reckoning statement, because so much havoc has happened over the years that I don't know that that's going to fix this.
Well, you made reference to a reckoning statement. I'm going to get back to that. I just want the viewers to know that student nurses who have less life experience and not the foundation to deal with this in a professional setting, I must say, because it's going to happen at the grocery store or the department store, or the gas station, wherever you go. But when you put it in the context of a professional setting, they don't have the life experience to deal with it. And so it's even tougher for student nurses. I say that to say that as clients or patients or the public, you may not even know this is going on because we show up. We show
Yes.
up with a smile. We show up and give you the best care. Even when someone says, I don't want that nurse taking care of me because of her skin color. And in the 21st century, that is still happening.
It's still happening.
Or in school, there is this unspoken rule that Black and brown students are not as intelligent. So we're dealing with some harsh truths in our society, but we still keep plugging along. And so, Dr. Foster-Smith, I'd like you to speak to the American Nursing Association reckoning statement. What is that? And yeah, what are they apologizing for?
Well, after the murder of George Floyd and the riots, and the American Nurses Association, which is the professional nursing organization for registered nurses, put together the commission of which you gave the statistics for, and the ANA got together and they decided, what are we going to do about this? And the American Nurses Association from 1916 to 1964 did not allow Black nurses to be members. So when you think about 1964, it was only, I graduated from nursing school and give it away 1978. And so it wasn't much long that I could be a member of that. It wasn't long after that I didn't know that I wasn't going to be able to be a member had I graduated previously. So they have this statement of reckoning. And what troubled, I applaud the statement. So I want to make that clear. I applaud the American Nurses Association and the commission for putting together this statement. But what I think about as an African American nurse is, what about everybody else? What about the people that preceded me? What about all of them? And how do you, as I looked it up, to reckon means to give an account for. How can you give an account for for a nurse that couldn't get a job or was treated poorly, that have long been gone, and their families long gone? So when I think about the statement, I think it's a very noble first step. But until we again can dismantle some of the beliefs,
Mhm.
um, and some of the what we've allowed to be okay, I think it's really going to be it's a commitment.
Mhm.
It's a commitment to change. It's a commitment to transform how we think. It's a difference in mindset. It's how we operate and how it's not okay to continue to operate like we've been operating.
Absolutely. So you talked about the American Nurses Association, we're calling ANA, did not allow any nurse of color to enter before 1964.
Mhm.
Um, but they also are apologizing. I just have the statement here. I have so many copies of it printed out. I had to find the one I underlined. But they also did not have representation on the board of African American, much less leadership until Barbara Nichols in 1978. And
Mhm.
then this reckoning statement was written under the
Dr. Ernest Grant.
yes, under his watch. He was the first African American male to lead
Yes.
the organization. So they
Let's not forget about Dr. Beverly Malone,
oh, that's right. That's right.
because you have to. I mean, there's so few we can remember them.
Yes, yes. Well, she's still, she's still,
Very active.
yeah, the CEO of
National League of
National
Nursing.
League of Nursing. Yeah, yeah, and has been for quite some time. And so the other is that they did not, and the American Nurse Association is responsible for um, uh, promoting education, and they did not support robust education that included any population of color, and they didn't represent the needs of the nurses of color. So, excuse me. So I was trying to find a part in the statement that talks about, I wanted the viewers to hear this language. So it says, through acts of omission, when we fail to act and commission, when the ANA's actions negatively impacted nurses of color, we have caused harm and perpetuated systemic racism. This is what the ANA is admitted, that they not only caused harm, but it is being perpetuated even today. And that this statement serves as a starting point for a journey during which we seek to acknowledge past actions that continue to impact the profession today, and as a starting point of a new journey toward the future. And so we may ask, why did it take so long?
That's what I ask.
That's your essential question. Why did it take so long?
When we knew it was wrong,
Well, yes,
when
when
we
we
knew
knew
when we were we had sins of omission,
it. Mhm.
we knew. Why did it take so long? I don't
And
know.
and we have laws in place that forbid this. And it still happened. So
It's still happening.
happening. Uh, the Civil Rights Act, and we have FERPA, we had EEOC, all of those, and it's still happening. So I just want to take a reset here, and there are viewers who are just joining us or who have joined us during our conversation. I am Dr. Paulina Van, the host of this show, The Poetry of Healing, and my guest today is Dr. Rhonda Foster, and we've been talking about racial discrimination in nursing, the African American nurses' experience with racist encounters and barriers. And Dr. Foster-Smith has just shared, and how we're going to start talking about healing, because it's not only the problems and the barriers and the racial encounters, but we want to talk about healing in these situations. So we're glad you're here. We ask that you put in the chat where you're joining from. Also, like and share and tag others. And this show is usually 30 minutes, and we just passed that 30-minute mark. But today, we are extending the time to talk about the experiences of Black nurses that are uncomfortable yet essential, and then to talk about how we're going to heal. So, Dr. Foster-Smith, do you want to add anything else about why it took so long?
Well, I think in part, let's talk about ownership. I can't lay all of that at the foot of the American Nurses Association.
Mm-hmm.
I think part of what we own is, and we saw some of this, but using our voices in a bigger way, advocating for ourselves. And I think what ended up happening, when you think about all the different nurses of all the different nationalities, have their own professional organization. So Asian Americans, Hispanic nurses, Black nurses, so they all started their own organizations. But I think there's that complicity of silence, because you don't necessarily, who do you tell, number one, that this is happening? And of course, number two, it's happening. And number three, what are you going to do about it? And so I think those three factors in my mind still exist today. Who do I tell? They can't possibly not know about this. Mm-hmm. And what are you going to do about it? And it's that third piece. What are you planning to do about it? I agree that this is going to take a journey, but how many people will have to be hurt emotionally, financially, socially, until it's right? And that's, so I'm so glad you're talking about healing, because when you think about the healing that needs to go forth, my grandmother had a saying. She said, "The devil can't hide in the truth."
Powerful.
It's very powerful. Mm-hmm. And so we can't be silent anymore about what's going on in organizations. We can't be silent anymore about what this person said to me. And if that means documenting, and it's going to be tough. I have a true story. A nurse, after George Floyd was murdered, had a shift to work, and she came to work and she was hurting. She almost didn't come, she said. And she said, she goes, I was looking for a reason to have to go home. And what hurt her more was the fact that she had worked on this nursing unit for years, let's say 10 years, and nobody asked her how she was doing. Now, everybody knew what was going on. Everybody knew that she has African-American children and sons in particular. Everybody knew that she was a caring, empathetic nurse. She came to work. And so she tried to figure out, how do I reconcile this? And she wrote a letter to her colleagues. She wrote the letter saying, what really hurt me the most was that nobody asked me how I was doing. And that little bit. And so she was invited to come to the administrator's office, that happened to be me, by her boss's boss and her bosses. Mm-hmm. And she was under the impression that she came there to discuss how the organization could do better. Mm-hmm. What They came to do, my understanding and their intent was to have her disciplined for writing a letter
For
that
using
shared
her
how she
voice.
felt
I'm
for
sorry.
using her voice. Yes, they wanted her disciplined. And even after she used her voice in a verbal manner with them, after we thought it was over and reconciled, they asked, "So are you going to write her up? Are you going to at least coach her?" And my answer was no. It would have been more detrimental to her. She used her voice. Other nurses had used their voice, but they weren't nurses of color. And all she didn't say, "You terrible white people." She just said, "Why didn't you care for me?"
Mhm. Mhm.
And so I think she asked a powerful question. When I say, what we're really asking is, why can't you care for me as a human being? Why can't you care for me as a nurse? Why can't you care for me as your colleague?
Why can't you see me as a whole human
Why
being?
can't you see me?
Mhm. Absolutely. So, Dr. Foster Smith, would you give a personal account of, um, and together I'm sure we have thousands, but a personal account of a racial interaction and how you dealt with it or healed from it? Because I like our viewers to know that we don't have to remain silent. And I see that too much among my peers and the students, not using uh, the voice because of fear of losing the job or getting a failing grade. But we're here to tell you we're survivors and we've used our voice. So would
Well, let me tell you,
you,
and I debated whether I was going to share this, but
mhm,
since you ask, I will.
okay.
3 years ago, I was, I took an interim assignment in a state that I didn't really know very well, but the state that's known for racism, in an organization that was known for systemic racism. Um, it was an interim assignment, and I was told by the person that I would be reporting to how I should proceed. Um, I, I was told to have what they call listening sessions.
Mhm.
And I guess that meant listen and don't ask questions. But if you know me, I'm been curious all my life. And so um, I started asking the things about the quality or things that about, what was going on in the unit, what was going well, the typical things.
Mhm.
And I got in trouble like in 2 days because I made someone cry,
Mhm.
because I asked them about a quality situation that was going on in the organization. And there was a second incident where someone cried and they reported me for making them cry. So I was brought into the person that I reported to's office, and she said, "You keep making you." She said this. She
Mhm.
said, "You call yourself an international consultant and you don't know how to talk to people?"
Mhm.
And I did this. I just took a breath because I was like, I had the wind knocked out of me.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I said, "Well, what should I do? Should I tape all my conversations?" And she accused me of being uh, flippant.
Mhm.
And I was devastated, Paulina.
Mhm.
I was hurt to my core that this was happening. And I teared up. I'm going to be vulnerable and tell you, I teared up
Mhm.
because I couldn't believe that someone was talking to me in a professional environment like that.
Mhm.
And she said, I have a meeting. Fix your face before you leave my office. And I had a meeting as well that I was attend to for her.
Mhm.
And as it turned out, on my way to the meeting for her, I got a call from the agency that said your services are no longer needed. Move out of the apartment, turn in the car, bring the computer back. And I'm like, what the heck just happened?
Mhm.
What happened was, how dare an African American woman who's a zealot for quality, and I'll own that,
Mhm.
who happened to ask, who advocates for the patient when their parents not in the room? And the leader of that area said, I don't know.
Mhm.
That was okay, but my question wasn't. Her response was okay. Her tears were okay, but my question wasn't okay. So when you ask about healing, I was a mess because I had never in my career had anything happen like that to me before. I've worked really, really hard to have a wonderful reputation. And I've worked really hard to do everything that I was supposed to do in this profession: publish, do research,
Mhm.
use my voice, advocate. And they sent me home after 2 weeks saying, get out of here.
Mhm.
And they said, don't call anybody, don't even step foot on this campus. So finally, I said, I'm not taking this. And I prayed. And I realized that I couldn't be silent anymore and that I had to fight. Now, fundamentally, I will fight for everyone else, but not for myself.
Mhm.
I will go to blows for a person, but not for myself. And I would have rather done anything except fight, but I had to.
Mhm.
And so I filed a lawsuit.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
it took 3 years for it to be settled.
Mhm.
But what they realized was they had they had a report that had been done by a consulting company that talked about everything that I experienced in that organization. I was an N of one,
Mhm.
but others had experienced it, employees experienced it.
Mhm.
But what it comes down to, they're not the only one. This thing, things are allowed to be said to people, things are allowed to, people are allowed to be emotionally hurt at the hands of colleagues.
Yes. Ooh, we are unwrapping, uh, the I don't even know what to call it, but we are giving viewers a deep look into nursing. And when you brought up the that you had to sue, I can't tell you how many African American staff nurses and leaders I have heard say that I had to sue because it was so egregious.
It gets so egregious
Hmm.
that you have to, it's the healing didn't come through the lawsuit.
Hmm.
The healing came as I reconciled what was right to do.
Yes. Great point. Great point.
So I mean, because you think about it, by the time, and what I realized was, even going through the deposition,
Mhm,
I cried and cried and cried because it was all fresh, because I had to talk about it,
mhm,
because what I had done is stop talking about it
mhm,
because I wanted to move on. But talking about it, again, the devil can't hide in the truth.
mhm,
And so it's like, this is what happened to me. If it happened to me at the level I am in my career, just
mhm,
imagine, like you said, the student,
mhm,
the the young nurse, the person, the manager who gets passed over only to have trained the person that has the job.
mhm. Or Dr. Foster Smith, have your application shredded. You
Oh,
apply for a job, it never makes it to the queue.
now if the your viewers think that does not happen, maybe it's not shredded. It's just put in a pile and you never get looked at. You never, ever, ever get looked at. And you wonder, why are there not, you hired 60 people and they all look alike? And that's okay?
Yeah. Well, what I want to do is we've talked about the hurts that we experience, but there are so many joys because the viewers may be saying, well, why are you stay in the profession? Because every time we help someone overcome even a small situation, it is a win. It is a win for that patient. And that's why most of us become nurses,
That's
because
right.
we want to help and care for others. So as even though there are all these instances where we're disrespected or we're made to feel invisible or not important, we still have control over a little spare, and that spare is the nurse-patient relationship where
Oh
we
my
make
goodness.
a
You just brought back to mind how many scenarios as a leader where a physician may have gotten upset with a nurse for advocating on behalf of a patient.
mhm,
I was advocating when I asked those questions on behalf of patients.
mhm, mhm,
What what is interesting about that so much is I was advocating on behalf of patients and what my silence may have cost the patients.
mhm.
And I think we have to think about the other side of that.
Yeah. So, this has been, I mean, we need a part 2, 3, and 4 to get, to get through this because there's so many layers. But I would like the viewers to know that if you take away anything from this, it's important to know if you're a nurse, you have a voice.
Mhm.
And as long as you use that voice in a factual and respectful way, you are doing the right you're doing the right thing. Don't stay silent. Even if it's your leader who's the problem. I can tell you over and over how many times I've had to take my bosses to the next level and have the conversation. And of course I was scared. Of course. But I wasn't afraid of losing my job because you know what? As nurses,
We get another one.
we can get another job,
And
and it may even be a better job, but you have to be able to take the risks and talk about it with, it's scary, it's hurtful, but if you keep it inside, it's gonna eat away from you. I mean, yeah, eat, yeah.
you know, I would just add that many organizations seem like big mammoth entities that, like your Goliath. They represent Goliath and you represent the boy with the stones.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, someone will take your case. Someone is going to listen to you. Somebody is going to hear and say it's not right. But if we keep silent, it's not doing the profession any good.
And don't feel you're the only one going through it, because
Because you're
because we
not.
don't, yeah, because we don't talk about it, you have that feeling. But I want to go to resources. I'm going to drop them in the chat, but I want you to know that I have tons of resources for you. I'll drop in the chat the apology statement, and so you can read that in full. You often hear the first step is to just assess your own biases, because we each of us have our own biases as it relates to race and ethnicity. So Harvard has this implicit bias test that's free, that you can take. Also, some nursing specific resources. There's a toolkit that was developed by a nursing organization on the East Coast, and so I'll drop that in the chat. It has some really good suggestions. And then there are two nurses. Matter of fact, they happen to be my colleagues. One is Dr. Lucinda Canty, and she has a website, and it's about racial reckoning in nursing. It's a very active site. And then another colleague, Kim Scott, wrote a book about racism in nursing. And so there are scenarios that the African Americans have written about in their life. And so I'll drop that in the chat as well. But as you know, I am a meditation promote. I promote meditation, and meditation really can heal many, many things. So I'm going to do a 3-minute meditation with you. But before I do that, I wanted to share with you a poem that came to me as I was preparing for this show. And it's titled A Nurse of Color. And if you don't know my story, these words come to me. I don't sit down to write them, but I believe this poem really sums up what Dr. Foster Smith and I have been sharing with you. Okay, so it's A Nurse of Color. I am a nurse of color, at times seen as something other. I have by my side an invisible divide. As I provide care, I do so in fear. I am a nurse of color who shows up every day, no matter who or what is placed in my way. An inferior class grade, a referral not made, my application trashed, my hopes dashed, a propelled dart I avoid because I'm just that smart. I am a nurse of color on a mission without submission. I thrive not just to get by. I am a nurse of color who holds her head high and refuses to be denied. I am a nurse of color living out my purpose and not just on the surface. I am a nurse of color mentoring, modeling, mentioning, mending. I am a nurse of color whose heart and spirit bring joy to the profession in spite of oppression. I can smile and laugh because I hold this truth. I am a nurse of color on a God-given path. And so I say to you,
That's powerful.
thank you. Thank you. And so I'm here to tell you that, yes, we do have struggles, yet we do have hope, and we do have strength, which is within us.
Absolutely.
And I just want to teach you, as I always do, this is a 3-minute meditation, and I hope that whether you're struggling with racism in nursing or just in life, this meditation will bring soothing and open your heart to know that there's healing. So, again, I'm going to invite you. It's going to take 3 minutes and then we're going to close. I invite you to lower your gaze or close your eyes and just follow my words. I'd like you to take a nice deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. And then just allow your body to take over your breathing, focusing your attention on your heart. I'd like you to imagine a warm golden light starting to shine in the center of your heart. This warm glow gets brighter and brighter with each breath that you take. Breathing in, the light gets brighter. When you breathe out, the light gets brighter. So breathe in and out and imagine this light beginning to expand so that it expands beyond your chest and down your arms, all the way to the end of your fingers. This light expands from your heart down your body, all the way down to your toes. This light expands from your heart up to the top of your head. This light is now expanding in all directions, and your entire being is shining brightly. A light so bright you feel a warmth around your entire body. Breathe into this warmth and take a deep inhalation, taking in this warmth and this light. And as you exhale, imagine the light pouring from your heart and into the world around you. This light, your light, is so bright, you transcend any darkness that comes your way. You and your light slowly rise into the sky and bring light to everything and everyone you come in contact with. So breathe in this light. Be this light. Bring awareness and know that this light is with you all times. No matter what challenges come your way, you can come back to this place and this light whenever you need it. And so I ask you take a nice deep breath, and that light is continuing to shine around you. And as I close, I want to give a sincere thank you. And she's still with the light. But God bless you, Dr. Foster-Smith, and thank you for the time you spent with us today
Thank you.
and being so transparent and giving from your heart, because I'm sure you told stories you hadn't intended to tell.
Oh, yes.
And it brought back feelings and recollections that you hadn't prepared yourself for. But I thank you.
Yet it was important.
Yes, it was extremely important. And so as I close, I just ask that you join me every first and third Sundays at 9 a.m. Pacific time right here and leave comments. I do read and will respond to your questions. And please like, share, and tag if you found our show helpful and you'd like to share it with others. Follow or subscribe if you're on YouTube so you'll know when new programming is available. I'm going to show you a QR code at the end so you can just scan it and be able to go to my website, regalahealing.com, and you can learn more about my healing and self-care work and resources. I have a tremendous gratitude again for Dr. Foster-Smith, and I thank you for joining us today and spending time with us. And as always, I wish you love and light until we see you again.
Thank you.
Mhm. And so I'll just leave this here for just a few seconds. Just a few seconds.